What you want to know. What you need to know.
Talk 1470. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Caregiver Reality Show with your hosts, David Levy and Paul Vadiato, who bring you more than a combined 25 years of practical experience, helping thousands of family caregivers, helping them find solutions to the challenges and frustrations presented by this important responsibility. So if you are in the position of caring for a spouse or a parent, a loved one who is no longer able to care for themselves, or if you know someone who is, this hour will be worth the listening. Now, let's tune in to today's edition of Caregiver Reality with your hosts, David Levy and Paul Vadiato.
Good evening, South Florida, America, and the world. This is the Caregiver Reality Hour. I'm your host, David Levy. I'm here with my co-host, Paul Vadiato. And it's 5 o'clock on the East Coast, so you know it's the Caregiver Reality Hour. You're either watching on caregiverreality.com, wwnnradio.com, amp2.tv, on iHeartRadio, and eventually on all those other places that it goes out into the virtual world once Freddie finishes getting his thing done. And I want to thank Freddie for the show tonight, and especially he's got his son here who is the techno genius Geo behind the controls. And tonight we are doing a dual Skype, and we are the guinea pigs for it. So if you happen to be watching, we're transmitting back and forth between the radio station because anyone that's watching knows that the radio station doesn't have two comfortable chairs. and that's where we are tonight. So we have got a great show for you. A little later on, we have Naomi Kovacs. She is the executive director of the Santa Barbara Village, part of a new growing trend of folks helping folks in the communities that they live in. It's not a brand new concept. Many years ago in San Francisco, it started out as something called On Lock. The Chinese were very influential in pursuing that. The Friends in Philadelphia did something very similar to it. And I know that in my native New York, many of the high-rise rental apartments in places like the old Peter Cooper and Peter Stuyvesant, had that same kind of a thing going on with neighbors helping neighbors. They lived in their homes, but if you couldn't go shopping, somebody else did. But if you could make those phone calls for somebody who couldn't, you did that. And I think going forward in the future, and we'll hear it from Naomi, more and more of these virtual communities that allow us to live in our homes, but have a lot of the synergy that a facility might offer without necessarily the pointed effort of clinical care until you really need it, are going to be the wave of the future as more and more people stay in their homes and most of the long-term caregiving takes place there. So that's my 2 cents. Can't wait to hear from Naomi. And Paul, as I ask you every week, how was your week in caregiving?
Well, good afternoon, David, and good afternoon to everyone out listening with us today. Thank you again for joining us. My week in caregiving, it has been a rather difficult week, to be candid. We went through a couple of procedures that I mentioned last week, and we're waiting for results, and we've had a little bit of discomfort during the week. So it's that not knowing, and it's sort of waiting for the shoe to drop. And I think Debbie really said it best when she said, I'm just sick of being sick. And you get that feeling that things are not going in the direction that you'd like them to. And as the caregiver here, it's trying to find those soothing words while you yourself are worried as well. David, I'm sure you've similarly with Suzette.
Oh, I have heard I'm sick of being sick so often. I'm thinking of
You're sick of hearing it.
Scripting a song. And, the last few days I've had a few of my own issues, which we don't need to get into. And so I, too, am sick of being sick. And it does happen. And but Suzette has been going to physical therapy yesterday, and they're giving her a bunch of exercises to do in hopes of building her up enough so that she can have the other knee done so that she can complain at least standing up. And I think that would be a wonderful thing. And but all kidding aside, I would like to see her be able to ambulate or move around a little bit better. And right now, the other knee is causing her a lot of problems. But she's been at this game, and so have I, of being caregiver and care recipient. Going on 15 years now, so we kind of have a feel for it. But I'll tell you, those of you that are caregivers, doesn't get any easier. There are good days and there are bad days. We hope there are more good than bad. But certainly, it's a continuous effort. It's 7/24. It doesn't take a break. And I was reminded when we were talking earlier, because tomorrow Paul takes off. He's the road warrior for us. He's off to Philadelphia to do a presentation for certified financial analysts. And I know he's going to knock it out of the park, because they don't really know about non-clinical family caregiving, and they are, unless they are one. And so I think it's going to be very interesting both for him and for the audience.
We have a very good panel that I'm going to be part of. It includes a palliative care physician, an elder law attorney, and myself. And we have about 175 certified financial analysts discussing a wide variety of topics, but this seems to be the one that is catching a lot of attention. And I know that part of this discussion is be dealing with end-of-life planning, and I'm anxious to be part of this panel. But, you know, David, just getting back to something you said earlier, it really struck me on Thanksgiving as we were having our dinner that, you know, caregiving doesn't take a holiday, and it's really there. And for so many of you that have been doing this out there and listening to us, we understand because we walk alongside of you. It's not an easy job. It's not one that you've been trained for, you've been educated for, but it's one that you do. And I was reminded again of something that David brings up so often here on the show. You're doing a great job. You're doing the best you can with what you have. The bar you set for yourselves is typically too high, and take a moment and catch your breath. You're doing a great job, and it's appreciated. David?
Yeah, and, you know, nobody is Mother Teresa and Florence Nightingale. There's no perfection in caregiving. You do what you do the best you can, and what you try not to do is second-guess yourself in hindsight, whether it was you could have done more or different or whatever. You did it, and if you get through the day and you get through the night, you did a wonderful job, because at 365, 724, there's no point of perfection. There's no point of failure, all right? You do what you have to do. You do it with a lot less training than most people have in the clinical world that have to do what they have to do for the patient, and you're doing it constantly. And even if you have a clinical education, which is great, most caregiving that we find is non-clinical, practical problem solving, difficult as hell, in a system that keeps moving, in a world where the game changes daily. You heard my perspective a few weeks back about how difficult it was in the world of Medicare Advantage, without naming any names, and trying to figure out who you wanted, how you did it, what doctors were in there, what meds were in there, and with a little caveat on the bottom that says, after the first of the year, we may not be able to give you the people we said we could today because we may not renew our contract. So kudos to everybody that's bearing up under it, whether you're a caregiver or not. It's a difficult healthcare system out there.
We'll be having a guest from California, a not-for-profit. Frank Nielsen will be coming on in a couple of weeks to specifically talk about the Advantage plans and how to make an intelligent choice, and from both the provider, the doctor, but also from the pharmacy, making sure that you're able to get the medications that you need. It's very hard to make an apples-to-apples, orange-to-orange comparison, and it really it presupposes that you have a background to be able to make these comparisons, and hopefully Frank will be able to give us a little bit of guidance as to make a good choice, and we're grateful that he's going to be coming on.
You
Just
bet.
confirmed today.
Yep.
Yep.
So, Paul, what time is it?
Well, it's about 10 after 5.
And it's my perspective.
It is, David.
All right, and today it's my perspective because last week we heard from Paul. Now, for those of you that don't know me very well, in 2 days I'm having an unbirthday. Once you reach a certain point, you don't celebrate birthdays till you get to be 100, which is a unique milestone. I'm not sure that I will get there, but this is my unbirthday coming up on Thursday. And as Jack Benny used to say when he turned 80, it's the 45th anniversary of my 35th birthday. And I think that's very adequate without having to reveal my age. Not that it's a big deal, but I just think it's a non sequitur to a great degree.
Let's just put it this way. We don't need the fire department on standby because of the candles.
No, and hopefully not the EMTs either. But there are things as I look back right now that I'm very thankful for. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my friends and my colleagues and my clients with whom I've learned so much over the years. I mean, it's really been very rewarding to do what I do. I'll say a little bit more about that. But all of them are very important, but especially, as my grandkids would call it, my BCCFF.
Ah.
And that's my bestest caregiver, colleague, friend forever, Paul Vadiato, with whom I could not operate, who steers the ship, who's going up to freeze his backside tomorrow in Philadelphia, and he's going to knock one out of the park. And seriously, Paul and I have been friends for a long time. We've been business associates, especially now as co-venture partners and co-hosts for the last year or so. And I must tell you that he has made a remarkable difference in my life. And if he wasn't around, I would not have the caregiver guidance that I need. And I know reciprocally, because he said it last week, he couldn't do it without me, I couldn't do it without him. The interesting thing is when he goes tomorrow, and he's going to be great, I have both wives. So I have to be
lucky
great
you.
Too. Yeah, lucky me. All right, but Debbie, I know you're listening, and I am no more than a car ride away, and I will be there if you need me. I'm very thankful for my second career choice in choosing gerontology mediation and the opportunity to be one of the pioneers in non-clinical family caregiving. In turn, I am thankful to all of the unpaid family caregivers that I have dealt with and been able to help, and who have helped me to understand what being a family caregiver is all about. I'm thankful that I have survived as many medical crises as I have, and that I'm still here to talk about it.
Yes.
And to let everyone know you are not your disease. I am David Levy, and I am not a multiple cancer survivor, and I never want the label of my illness. I just want to be called who I am. And while I'm on that very delicate subject, one of the things I've done since I've been a little kid, you can call it ghoulish, is I read the obituaries. And one of the things that has always given me a lot of cause to think is that cancer, of which I've had it twice, all right, is the only disease that we courageously battle. There isn't another one out there that ever gets that predicate in front of it when you read the obit. And I often wonder, what about everybody else? Didn't they put up a courageous fight? And I take nothing away from people with cancer who fought the good fight, but how come that's almost a standard in the obits? That's a birthday personal criticism on my part, all right? I am very thankful for my wife, who has helped me really understand through her what true intestinal fortitude in the face of adversity of every kind, not just medical. She's been my rock and constantly pushes me to do the things that truly make me satisfied inside. I'm thankful to see my children grow up and be successful, and my grandchildren well launched on leading productive lives in a new world that I will never understand. While I'm sure there's millions of things I can be thankful for, I will simply say thank you to my producer, Freddie, Linda, Gio, who have made this late career move into the media such an incredible experience. I'm thankful to you, our audience, who make every Tuesday such a rewarding time in my life. And without your growing loyalty, this never could have happened. Lastly, I'm thankful for the higher power that looks over me and has made my life what it was, is, and what it will be. And so, for my unbirthday, those are my remarks. This is my perspective. Paul?
David, you know, your private clients, the ones that you've helped through your writings and whatnot, they've had the benefit of a lot of years of wisdom and a lot of years of finding out what works, finding out what doesn't work, and then being able to relay that information in a way that really has meaning. And I'm certainly want to wish you a very, very happy birthday. I know the journey has been a long one at times.
Yes.
And I'm very happy and proud to be part of the journey going forward on that. And to our audience, you can send your birthday wishes right to our website at www.caregiverreality.com or on our Facebook page, Caregiver Reality, and wish David a happy birthday.
And if you're near the studio, Freddie baked a great cake. It's just it wasn't big enough to handle all the candles. Anyway, I want to thank our audience for helping us to grow.
Yes.
Paul, thank you for helping the whole situation to grow. And it's time, I think, we were going to take ourselves a station break. So back to the station, and we'll see you in a couple minutes on our return to WWNN 1470 AM and all of those other .com and .tv stations that I mentioned earlier.
Are you a family caregiver? Are you taking care of a spouse or loved one who can no longer take care of himself or herself? Are you dealing with Alzheimer's disease and don't know what to do? Do you feel burned out, frustrated, and just don't know where to turn? You've tried doctors, lawyers, and mental health professionals and have come to realize that they don't have practical answers to these questions. What you need are experts, non-clinical family caregivers with 25 years of active experience helping thousands of family caregivers like yourself. People who can help you provide a better quality of life for yourself and your loved one. Who you need are David Levy or Paul Vadiato. Reach David at caregiverreality.com or reach Paul at caregiverreality.com and let them help you pick the right path towards
Freddie,
improving the quality of life for you, the caregiver,
here.
and your loved one.
This is Paul Vadiato, co-host of Caregiver Reality Hour. As a spousal caregiver, I know that sometimes things get rough and sometimes we lose perspective. David Levy and I have over 50 years experience and expertise on advising caregivers. If you find that you need help, you're a little confused, reach out to us at Paul or David at caregiverreality.com. We're there to help.
This is Caregiver Reality with gerontologist David Levy and caregiver expert Paul Vadiato, who ask you to call in and speak with them on the air toll-free at 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470 to share a story or important information. Now, back to today's Caregiver Reality Show.
Hear the Skype conversation, but normally this is the time that we do the medical research charities piece, and we're trying something a little different tonight. And one of the things that we're trying is to see what the response is from our audience. We've been trying to ascertain that for their benefit. As you know, Medical Research Charities is the umbrella organization for 29 different charities. And what we'd like you to do tonight, we have a West Coast and an East Coast dial-in number. And on the East Coast, that number is 954-372-5459. 954-372-5459. And what we would like to know, if you dial that number, What kind of caregiver questions do you have? What would you like to see on the show in the future? We're trying to fine-tune it, and Medical Research Charities has been good enough to supply a Google call-in number for the caregiver question. For the research question and for more information on any one of their 29 charities and what they do, that number is 619-535-1672. That's 619-535-1672. And you can talk to the people at Medical Research Charities, ask any question you want. We can build it into the show going forward, but this is just an opportunity for us all to hear from you directly. So, East Coast, 954-372-5459. West Coast, 619-535-1672. Paul?
Be part of the conversation. Join us. Tell us which way you'd like to see us to go, and we're going to be best I can to get it in that direction. David?
Well, very soon we're going to be having Naomi Kovacs, who's going to be Skyping in to speak to us. We're very excited. We're doing it a different way tonight. Freddie and Gio are here. It's what's called a double Skype. We can't see Naomi, but Naomi can see us. We'll be able to hear her. And if it works as well as we hope it will, those of our viewers that are watching should have a very clear picture of her. And possibly, Gio, is it a split screen for us?
I can make it one.
Okay, well, we'll see. If Naomi certainly is better looking than Paul and myself, then we'll keep just her on the screen. Yeah, I know, Gio, that's a default question. Anyway, a little bit of information about Naomi. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a Bachelor of Arts in French from the University of California in Santa Barbara. She spent a year studying at the Université Paul Valéry in Montpellier, France. She earned her master's in public administration with an emphasis in nonprofit management from the University of Southern California, where she was the Toyota Motor Sales USA Fellow, which is interesting. Naomi represents Santa Barbara Village in Santa Barbara County Adult and Aging Network and the Latino Elders Outreach Network, whose acronym is LEON. She was a session speaker at the 2011, 12, and 13 National Conference on Villages, and she was a panelist at the 2013 Symposium on Healthy Aging organized by Antioch University, Santa Barbara. Naomi serves on the board of directors of the Santa Barbara Peace Corps Association and is an advisory committee member on the Medical Hydropathology Working Group. I actually looked that up, and it is medical treatment using water.
Makes sense.
And so I'm very interested to hear a couple of minutes about that. And without another further word, I'm turning it over to Paul.
Good afternoon, Naomi. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fine.
Can you hear me?
We're very pleased that you took time to join us today. We think that the work that you're doing is just so important. Naomi, as more and more of us, as we age, are trying to stay home, tell us a little bit about what the Villages is all about and how it really came about.
Started actually in Beacon Hill, a neighborhood in Boston, back in, it was either 2001 or 2002. And it was, well, I'm hearing a real echo.
You're hearing an echo?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll
But
see.
we'll trying. Oh, there, it sounds better. Okay, so the National Village Movement started, as I said, in Boston, in Beacon Hill. It was a group of neighbors in a neighborhood. They were all, had been there a long time. They loved their neighborhood. They were finding that they were aging, and while over the years they had helped each other with different things, it became harder as they got older to help each other with things, and they didn't want to leave their homes just because of what happens as we age. So they figured out a way to create a virtual village and have people come and help them and create connection, and it just sprung from there. Other neighborhoods in the area said, what is Beacon Hill Village? What are they doing? We want that. And so over the years, the village movement has just sort of caught fire, especially with the big surge in baby boomers turning in as seniors. And now we're seeing it pop up all over the United States and, in fact, internationally as well now.
What does it take to create a village? I'm not trying to impose on
I've
Hillary.
Lost visual of you and don't hear you, so I'm not sure if we're having technical difficulties right now.
All right, we'll try again. Can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you now.
Okay. What I wanted, my question was, I know it takes a village. How do you go about creating a village using the concepts that you have been using?
Well, essentially, villages are created by their own communities. So the saying goes, when you've seen one village, you've seen one village. They're really created by and for the community in which they'll be serving. So it's not a small undertaking. Our village, I was not involved with Santa Barbara Village at the very beginning stages of planning. I was involved right before and through our launch. But it really is about getting community consensus on, do we want a village? What will this look like? How will it run? How will it be supported? And what model will it use? Because there's a variety of different village models, which we can probably talk about in a little bit. But essentially, the overarching goal of most villages is to help people to age healthfully, make their lives easier, fuller, and healthier as they age, mostly with the goal of staying in their own homes as they age. Now, sometimes we find people who already live in a retirement community or assisted living want to be members of a village, and that's great. They want to stay connected into a community outside of their assisted living community. But for the most part, what we see village members across the states are people who really are endeavoring to stay at home as they age, and to do that safely and effectively.
So we're talking virtual. It's certainly not a bricks and mortar type of a village.
Exactly. Right. So it's really sort of, that saying, it takes a village. It's really about connecting people with each other and with resources. And I like to think of Santa Barbara Village, and several villages are like this. We're like a one-stop shop where people can come and they can access information, they can get connected with resources, they can have social interaction, they can get educational activities and programs, all sorts of things. It sort of covers the spectrum of what can make someone's life healthier, easier, and fuller as they get older. In essence, I think most villages really try to be a partner in aging for people.
Now, that's an interesting concept.
Yes.
That's a little different than a straight retirement community. Naomi, when I was growing up in New York, we had a couple of very high-rise, middle-class communities that were aging in place. Stuyvesant Town, Peter Cooper. And you would see, building by building, that families that were there would kind of synergize, and I was mentioning this earlier before you came on, and if somebody couldn't go shopping, somebody else would do it for them, take them to a doctor appointment, et cetera, but it was from within. It sounds like this is both within and without. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think to some degree it depends on the village. There are some villages that are more smaller community-centric, like a particular neighborhood or a very defined geographic area. Santa Barbara Village is actually a larger area, so we serve 3 different cities, Carpinteria, Santa Barbara, and Goleta, which are close to each other. but some really focus smaller. So it really depends. But most villages, well, there's villages that really use volunteer helpers from the community, and there's villages that only refer to vetted service providers. Santa Barbara Village is one of the, I think of it like a full service village where we span the gamut. We offer volunteer assistance with a wide variety of things, vetted service provider referrals, and we've arranged discounts on those professional services, to educational activities, to referrals to other community resources. So it's a lot of villages are both, as you said, within and without in the community. But it does vary a bit village to village.
There seems to be a contradiction where we're talking about people who want to remain independent, yet being able to ask for help when they need it.
We found that in the beginning to be a big hurdle for us. As you said, there sort of seems to be an oxymoron to say join a village so that you can stay independent by asking for help. And people say, well, wait, those are mutually exclusive terms, staying independent and asking for help. And in fact, they're not. We all need help in different ways through our life. Viewers can see that I wear glasses. So I wear an assisted device to help me see. It does not mean I'm not independent. I'm short. So when I go to the market, I often have to have somebody to take something off the higher shelf for me that I can't reach. Doesn't mean I'm not independent. And we all know that as we age, many of us experience challenges that we didn't have previously in life. Mobility restrictions, vision or hearing loss, all sorts of things. And so it's really not an oxymoron to say, by getting some help, you'll stay independent. Because in fact, if you don't get some help, you may not be able to stay independent in your home.
Well, that almost fits into the whole caregiver mode, all right? The spouse or family doing their best to help somebody that needs some help to remain independent. You've just kind of refined it and made it more integrated between community services as well as volunteerism or what the individuals can do for themselves.
Correct.
Would that be a safe assumption?
Yeah. And I think by allowing people, by giving them that assistance and the connections to remain living in their homes, there's been some studies, national studies on villages and studies of California villages that show that there is, there's a decrease in loneliness, there's an increase in happiness of people who join villages. They feel like they are more able to stay in their home. They feel more secure in that, in being able to do that. And as we all know, loneliness can lead to depression, can lead to health issues. There's all sorts of cycles that can happen if someone becomes isolated and lonely. And villages really help people with that as well. So it's not just the tasks of daily living. It's as I said, it sort of covers the spectrum of what will make life easier, fuller, healthier.
Naomi, we see a lot of long-distance caregivers here in Florida. I have to believe this is a tremendous resource for the family.
It definitely is. When we first launched Santa Barbara Village, our expectation was that our primary target audience was going to be seniors who would want to be members themselves. And we very quickly saw that, in fact, a huge number of our inquiries about membership were actually people calling from out of town for family members that live here. And we have seen now that we've actually been an open village for almost 3 years now. And so we've seen how we've been able to really help either local caregivers or distant caregivers, as you said, by being an integral part of that person's life and therefore that family's life, because we're able to take care of so many things that they're not, and or we're able to give caregivers a break to refuel themselves, because as we know, caregivers need to take care of themselves to really be able to functionally take care of someone else.
Well said.
Right. Naomi, did you happen to see yesterday's Wall Street Journal? There was a whole section on aging and the perception that younger people have versus the reality of what happened when they hit 65 or older. Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting because a lot of the negativity that they had did not come about as reality when they finally got to be older. Mm-hmm. And I see things like the Santa Barbara Village just kind of buffing and waxing that kind of stuff and making it more effective.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so as soon as we're off air, I'm going to have to look that up.
It's very good.
Yeah, I'll look that up. There's been a lot of national coverage lately about the village movement and about particular villages. Just the other day, this weekend, there was an article in the New York Times. It's been featured on NBC and various TV, national TV shows, and it's definitely starting to gain momentum and attention. And now that there's also been some study of villages, we're able to show some real results of how villages are changing people's lives and making a difference for people. And as we know, the baby boomer generation, it's a very independent group of people for the most part, and they're very, a lot of them see themselves as very active. A lot of them are involved in the community, and their idea of seeing themselves as aging or aged, I think is qualitatively different nowadays than a generation ago. And so we're trying to really address that and, as I said, be more of a partner in aging with them rather than just being assistant and helping.
Well, I think that's important because it's the Pepsi generation with a little less fizz.
Naomi, when we were talking over the weekend, I had mentioned that my wife Debbie and I said, wow, this is something great. We should be part of this. It's a membership-driven type of a program. Can you address a little bit of the variations of membership from one village to the other?
Sure. So I should say for listeners, because I know you have listeners all over, well, actually all over the world. Right. So there are different models of villages. Some are really targeted, most are really targeted towards helping seniors. Some are actually don't have any age restriction. And so it's really more of a community resource. There are right now about 140 villages in the United States. I've heard there are villages in Spain, in England, I think Australia, the Netherlands. So it's expanding worldwide. So out of those 140 villages in the United States right now, I've heard that there's people estimate there's anywhere between 100 and 300 other villages in some form of development, hoping to open their doors for their communities. So as I said, each village really is created of and by its own community, of, by, and for its own community. So they have different personalities, let's say, and they might be structured differently. Some typical structures of villages tend to be ours. For instance, we have a fiscal sponsor. So we have a nonprofit agency that has basically taken us on as a program, and we run as Santa Barbara Village under their nonprofit status and their fiscal sponsorship. And a lot of villages do that. Some villages are actually nonprofits themselves. They've incorporated as nonprofit entities, and they work that way. Others run as in hub and spoke model. So there's sort of a centralized village, and then there's other villages in particular neighborhoods or areas, and it's sort of, you can imagine that hub and spoke visual. So those are really the typical villages. I do know of a village in California, in Plumas County. They are a time bank model. So you join and you give an hour of help to somebody and you get an hour of help. And you can bank up some hours to get help, and you can give as much help or as little help as you want. And there's they do all sorts of things for each other, and there's no age restriction. So there's a 6-year-old boy that helps take people's papers up to their doorsteps. And he's learning the value of volunteering and community, and then he gets a little help in return on different things like with his homework or whatever it is.
That's cool.
Now there's the spectrum of what it takes to be a member varies a bit between villages. So as I said, there may be age restrictions, there may not. Santa Barbara Village, you have to be 50 or better to be a member.
I like that better.
Well, we get better as we age in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And some villages are more expensive, less expensive than the others, and some offer certain services and some don't. So if people are interested, if listeners are interested in finding out if there's a village in their community and what membership entails and what it might cost, I really encourage them to go to the Village to Village Network's website. It's the vtvnetwork.org, and there's a map on the homepage where you can click on it. It says, "Is there a village near me?" And you can find out, and if not, you can contact the Village to Village Network and try to find out about starting a village in your community or what that would take.
That is just great.
Is there a model? Naomi, when they contact you and they say we want to start one, and recognizing that ethnically, geographically, financially, age-wise, etc., everybody's different, but is there a kind of a basic format to forming one?
There isn't that I'm aware of, sort of a cookie cutter template. I do get calls and emails all the time from all over the United States. I just got 2 this weekend from 2 different communities near ours, and I get them from states far away. And I think as time goes on, we will find that more of that sort of template will be developed, but it's really more of this, as I said, there's certain structures like a fiscal sponsorship or a hub and spoke, and there's sort of general models for that, but I'm not aware of sort of a handbook specifically on how to start a village in your community. And so the Village to Village Network is really helpful. It connects people with other villages. They can learn about different villages and say, oh, you're this kind of model, you're hub and spoke, I want to know more about that, would that work for my community? Or, oh, you have a fiscal sponsor, would that be better for our community? So there's one of the great things about the village is that it really feels like we're all on our own in our own villages, but we are really connected with each other as much as we want to be, and we use each other as resources all the time.
Naomi, I was so impressed with the events and the opportunity for socialization. Can you give our listeners a flavor of some of the things that some of the villages do?
Sure. I mean, I can mostly talk about my village. I am familiar with a few other villages, but Santa Barbara Village, for instance, twice a month we have a coffee and conversation gathering. So people get together over coffee and beverages and cookies and cake and just connect and chat. And we have a weekly Tai Chi easy class that no experience needed. You can stand or sit. And we really saw that as a wellness class that we were creating. And it has turned into a little social clique group. And so that's actually become a social outlet for people as well. We do a monthly free movie showing. We have various parties that we do for different holidays. This Thursday we're doing a holiday party, and we're doing a holiday lights tour, and we just sort of want to make it fun and help people connect and make it easy to do that. And we also want to deliver what people want. So most villages like ours are very member driven. So members give us the ideas about what kinds of things they want. We have a very active book club, or it's a reading group, and those kinds of things. So we try to keep it varied and rich and involve people as much as they want to be.
That's great.
Yeah, that is. Naomi, if you can just hold on a minute. We have to take a break.
Sure.
All right, thank you. And we'll be right back with Naomi, Paul, and myself. All right, and take it away.
Are you a family caregiver? Are you taking care of a spouse or loved one who can no longer take care of himself or herself? Are you dealing with Alzheimer's disease and don't know what to do? Do you feel burned out, frustrated, and just don't know where to turn? You've tried doctors, lawyers, and mental health professionals and have come to realize that they don't have practical answers to these questions. What you need are experts, non-clinical family caregivers with 25 years of active experience helping thousands of family caregivers like yourself. People who can help you provide a better quality of life for yourself and your loved one. Who you need are David Levy or Paul Vadiato. Reach David at caregiverreality.com or reach Paul at caregiverreality.com and let them help you pick the right path towards improving the quality of life for you, the caregiver, and your loved one.
Hello, South Florida, America, and the world. This is David Levy, co-host on the Caregiver Reality Hour, and talking to you live from South Florida. We have a show that no one should miss because we're talking to 50 million caregivers in the United States and probably 100 million around the world. It's an opportunity to hear what the experts have to say, and more importantly, if you realize that the market for caregiving is as enormous as it is, you should get in touch with us because we're looking for certain select advertisers that want to be part of the Caregiver Reality. And those of you that want to be part of the Caregiver Reality family,
Can you
get
guys
in
hear
touch
me?
with us. David at caregiverreality.com, Paul at caregiverreality.com. We'll get back to you because this is too important in your marketing to miss.
Ally
This is Caregiver Reality with gerontologist David Levy and caregiver expert Paul Vadiato, who ask you to call in and speak with him on the air toll-free at 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470 to share a story or important information. Now, back to today's Caregiver Reality Show.
And we're back. And before we speak with Naomi, I just want to remind you that we are doing, the MRC piece tonight to see whether or not we can get a listener audience participation, viewers as well. And I just want to let you know, if you want to ask a question about any of the charities or a charitable question, that West Coast number is 619-535-1672. And here on the East Coast, it's 954-372-5459 if you've got a caregiver question. And always you can go to medicalresearchcharities.org and see everything that they've got. So, Paul, take it away.
Thank you. Naomi, what seems to be a common thread is a very high degree of trust. Can you address that?
I think that's an incredibly important piece of what villages offer. We background check our volunteers. We check the providers that we will refer to. Different villages have different means of doing that and different levels, but I know at Santa Barbara Village we run a live scan fingerprint check on all of our volunteers, and we vet the service providers that we refer people to. So you're not having to go to the yellow pages and put your finger down and say, that name sounds good, I'll invite them into my house to fix something, and I don't know anything about their reputation. And you have an advocate for you in the village that people will go to bat for you as needed and will help research things so that you know you're getting some trustworthy help. And I think that's really important, and that's a big peace of mind factor that a lot of the members and their families really enjoy about villages.
Well, Naomi, we've seen here in South Florida so many people go to Craigslist or some other source without really getting anyone who's vetted. It's scary.
It's very scary. I hear that because there is a membership fee to be part of the village, and we'll have people say, oh, well, I could go to Craigslist and get somebody for $10 an hour and hire them X number of hours, and it'd be the same thing. And it's not the same thing. And people don't know about employment laws. In California, the laws change frequently, and they change significantly this year. And so people are actually putting themselves at risk, not just in terms of physical or financial safety, but also in terms of legal liability. So villages really help people, I think, provide, as I said, again, that peace of mind factor.
Naomi, before you talked about the attention that it's garnering in the media, but as the baby boomers are starting to age, I mean, it's a topic of conversation all over. Why now? Why is everyone starting to look towards the villages as a solution for them and their families?
Well, I think, it can be very costly to move into a facility, even if you wanted to. And frankly, most people don't. And studies show over and over that about 90% of 65-year-old and above Americans want to age at home, if at all possible. So there's the desire to stay at home, but there's also some financial restriction to moving to a facility. And some people want to preserve their legacy of their home to leave that to their family, or what financial means they're able to leave. And if you run those out by moving to a facility, that can be difficult for people to sort of swallow. Also, we're seeing that the government really is not set up for this surge of seniors that's coming, and there aren't the services. They're not there. They're not going to be there. And so how are people going to get the help that they need and stay integrated and connected in their community, and to stay as vibrant as they can be? People want to be relevant, and that's another thing that villages offer, is staying relevant in your community. And services, they're not there really for that. So this was a community response to that a dozen years ago, and it's really resonating as we're seeing the baby boomers really come of senior age. And so the timing is just perfect for this.
I think that whole notion of advocacy is so important as we start to age, that we know that we're not alone in fighting these battles.
Right, and that's a great thing about villages, is it makes it very clear you're not alone. We're in this together.
Well, and that's something that, Naomi, we espouse all the time with family caregivers. You're not in this alone. Mm-hmm. We try and do our part in bringing people like yourself, concepts like the village, an awareness of what else is out there besides same old, same old. And I have to tell you, I think what you're doing is wonderful. I do have one quick little question. All right.
Okay.
Could you tell me a little bit more about the hydrotherapy thing?
I laughed because you didn't actually get that right. It's actually we're working to help hopefully guide federal and state water sanitation policy. It has to do with fighting multi-drug resistant bacteria in water sources, and how water is treated to be safe for the communities.
Well, then you have to go to Wikipedia and make sure that they change the definition, because they had it much more clinical.
Well, it actually is clinical. It is sort of the medical it's quite complicated in some ways, but what our working group does is really trying to bring about some stronger and more effective policies for water treatment, so that we're protecting our communities from different diseases and drug-resistant diseases.
Naomi, we have to wrap it up. I can't believe how quickly the time has gone by.
Well, it's been great talking to you. I really appreciate you having me on, because I think people need to know about villages and look into them and
how to tell people where they can go to get more information.
There's the overarching Village to Village network. Their website is vtvnetwork.org.
Okay, and if they want to reach you?
If they want to reach me, our website is SB Village, so that's like Santa Barbara Village, sbvillage.org.
Thank you so much, Naomi. It was just a great afternoon having you on. We so appreciate it.
Right.
Well, thanks for having me.
And
Right.
a very happy holiday season to you.
And I'm going to go to the website because I want to see where it is in Florida. I'd like to be aware of
Wellington.
where. Is it? Oh, is it in Wellington?
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you
Yeah,
that don't know, in Palm Beach County, one of the northern major villages is Wellington. And so within the village is a village.
Yep.
All right. That's terrific. Naomi, thank you again. Thank you for your time. Thank you for Skyping. And I know our audience got a lot out of what you had to say.
Well, I hope so. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, David?
Right. We were asked to stop a few moments early.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my God.
Because we want to wish you a happy birthday, Dave.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
And I said I didn't want to, but look, I'm 1 year old. It's my unbirthday. And not only that, but a cannoli and a chocolate-covered strawberry and all kinds of goodies. All right?
Well, this is for our audience as much as it is for ourselves.
Right. We wish we could share and cut you a slice, but the cannoli is mine. And I want to thank everybody for listening to my diatribe earlier about unbirthday. But I really appreciate, thank you, Freddie, thank you, Linda, Gio, and wherever you went to get this, I'm thanking them too.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul, you have a safe trip tomorrow to Philadelphia.
I'm anxious to report back next week.
All right. And I know you had to break out your parka.
I had to get directions on how to put it on.
Oh, all right. Well, it's like a bunny suit. Anyway, South Florida, America, and the world, I want to thank you for listening, for helping us grow. Our numbers are just exploding, and so we want to hear from you to find out what you want to hear about. And so thank you. And Paul?
Thank you so much for joining us. As I say every week, caregivers, take care of yourselves. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver reality show. Each week, David Levy, a gerontologist, and Paul Vadiato, a caregiver expert with a combined over 25 years of experience, providing practical and realistic help to caregivers struggling to keep up with the needs of a loved one who are unable to care for himself or herself. To reach David Levy, email him at david@caregiverreality.com. Or to reach Paul Vadiato, email paul@caregiverreality.com. And find out more online. Just go to caregiverreality.com. See you next week for another exciting show of Caregiver Reality.